And welcome back to Hot Talk. So, don't you love that piece? It's of special meaning to my next guest, dear friend, scholar, writer, member of the culture, just a brother that I really love and respect. Kevin Powell, many of you all that go all the way back to the first Real World will know him. Those of you who are hip-hop heads, the one thing that you all know him from is Tupac's last interview and the cover of Vibe magazine, which I have encased in glass in my home, where Tupac says, "The last interview I will ever do." And it was with Kevin Powell. Welcome, Mr. Kevin Powell, to Hot Talk.
Greetings. Thank you so much. As always, Jill Tracey, Miss Jill Tracey, be Miss Jill Tracey.
It's amazing. I cannot believe I've been doing Hot Talk this many years, and it's the first time you've been on. And yes, my Vibe magazine, with your article with Tupac on the cover saying this is the last interview that I'll do, is one of my most prized possessions.
Thank you.
But Kevin, you are beyond being one of our most prolific writers and thinkers. You are also very politically involved. And I want to thank Billy so much for putting us together, making it happen, less than 72 hours now before the election. So how you feeling?
Well, I mean, we just talked off the record, and I said just holding my breath. But no matter what happens on Election Day, I'm clear, as always, as I was during the Reagan years, during George W. Bush's second term. We got to keep pushing forward no matter what. But I think it's going to be close, and I think that obviously the great state of Florida, once again, is going to play a pivotal role in this, which is why I wanted to speak with you, because it's so serious around voting and people who are and are not voting, and also we know what's happening with voter suppression. And I got to tell you, it seems like yesterday that I was in Florida with Stacey Abrams writing a cover story for the Washington Post magazine, which was back in February when I was there. The article actually ran in the Washington Post magazine in May, and Stacey was there specifically to deal with the issue of how important Florida was and trying to rally the troops and also talking about voter suppression. And as you know, Amendment 4 was passed to give up to 1.5 million formerly incarcerated folks the right to vote again, and yet once more, they've had roadblocks put in their way in the state of Florida, where many of them are now being asked to pay money, court fees, other things. And so basically, if they don't have any money, they can't vote, which is insane. But there's so many tactics that these reactionary forces have used to deny people the right to vote. And so we've got to be vigilant on Election Day. I'm glad people are, mailing in their vote ballots and voting early. But we also know in Florida, there's ballots that are being piled up at the post office. Right. If they're not in by Tuesday at 7 p.m., those ballots will not be counted.
And so many people are waiting to the last minute. Now, I will say I'm very encouraged by the sheer number of people that are voting. I think we might actually, reach a record. But to your point, Desmond Meade is a dear friend and a dear friend of Hot Talk. And we've been with him through the entire journey and thought that we were, at that this was going to be that election for us. And then boom, poll tax for, lack of a better word.
That's right.
And so for those, one of the conversations, Kevin, that I have been involved in, let's say, with a lot of young Black men and formerly incarcerated Black men, has been, I'm not in that conversation. That's not about me. It ain't about my life. And yeah, I'm just not going to vote. And then now you have the moment of some of our most influential artists, 50 Cent, Diddy, who was the latest? Lil Wayne. Okay.
Ice
Cube. Really in these, I don't want to call him ignorant, but as a matter of fact, let me not call him anything. Share with me your thoughts, because you really, you're in the soil of what we're talking about. What is that, and why a month before the election?
Well, let me say a few things, because you said so many powerful things just now. One, please give Mr. Desmond Meade my warmest regards. I'm a fan of his work. It's such tremendously important work, not just for the state of Florida, but for the entire country.
Amen.
What leaders like him are doing, unsung heroes and sheroes out there. and God bless them. Number two, what you said is absolutely right. Amendment 4 gets passed in the state of Florida, and that because the Republicans control, the lawmaking body for the state. This is why voting is important, because Republicans were the majority in the lawmaking body of the state. They were able to pass something additional that made it almost nearly impossible for the formerly incarcerated to vote. In other words, they had to pay a quote-unquote poll tax. If we think about history, they had to pay some restitution, which is, in my opinion, a violation of civil rights and human rights and voting rights. Number three, when we talk about black men, and I would not want to be anything else other than a black man. You're absolutely right. I interviewed Tupac Shakur several times, did 3 cover stories about him for Vibe, and a 4th for Rolling Stone. I was in Vegas when he died. I was also am working on my 15th book, which will be a biography of Tupac Shakur. Tupac had enough sense to understand when I interviewed him one of the times, look, Kevin, 5 million people are buying my records, 5 million people are buying Snoop's records. That's voting power if we could move those folks to the polls. We've gone from Tupac saying that to me in an interview to Diddy, Ice Cube, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, either openly supporting Donald Trump for president or saying we're going to hold our vote hostage. The problem, and I said this, I've been saying this all week to people who've asked me the question, as a lifelong hip-hop head myself, I've been in this culture since 1979 when I was a kid. I grew up a graffiti writer. I grew up a b-boy, a dancer. I was a hip-hop journalist for Vibe magazine. I produced the very first exhibit on the history of hip-hop with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This is my culture. Hip-hop was created by poor African Americans, poor West Indians, poor Latinx folks, as a response to the massive poverty and social injustices that they were facing in New York City, and there was a parallel energy that was happening in California. Hip-hop was created to make something out of nothing. The DJ, the turntables, the MC, the microphone, the graffiti writing using spray paint and magic markers, dancers using concrete, literally, or linoleum or cardboard. Hip-hop was a poor people's campaign that Dr. King was talking about at the end of his life. It was created by the people who were forgotten. And what has happened is that the white power structure in this country, in the form of Donald Trump and his administration, they do what they've always done. They practice classic divide and conquer, but you can't divide and conquer people if there isn't a level of ignorance there, which means when we talk about Kanye West, there's tremendous mental health issues. Everyone knows that. He's literally living a mental health crisis in public view,
front of us,
and walking around with a MAGA hat on and supporting Donald Trump. And the fact that Kanye West is on the ballot in 12 states siphons off votes that could otherwise go against Donald Trump. Right. Diddy saying, we're going to hold our vote hostage. I'm saying, brother, you and Ice Cube and 50 and Lil Wayne, who is around these rappers, these artists who are actually advising, who are political experts, who are political scientists, the way I studied political science when I was in college, the way I've worked on campaigns, and I've done voter education, voter registration. I've done all those different things. I've done anti-voter suppression work. I've run for Congress twice. I'm not saying me, but I can count hundreds of black women and black men, progressive people of all backgrounds, who actually know this system and could say, hey, Ice Cube, if you really want to create a contract with America, here's what it looks like. And then you need to be politically smart enough to understand, if you actually converse with the presidency of Donald Trump, they are going to put that out there, and therefore it's going to backfire on you, and your own community is going to call you a sellout. That's what happened. And so part of the problem is that also when we talk about hip-hop and these black males, hip-hop, a lot of us aspire to bootleg definitions that are rooted in heterosexual white manhood, which is about power and ego and privilege and greed and extreme individualism. And so a lot of us who say we're black men actually have bootleg definitions of the most awful forms of white manhood manifested in people like Donald Trump. And so we end up doing the same things that he's doing, which is no surprise then why a Lil Wayne or 50 Cent would actually endorse Donald Trump, because we aspire to that as the standard for manhood. That's the problem. That's the problem right there.